Hello and welcome to VistaTalks, interesting discussions with interesting people from all around the world. I'm your host for today, Priscillia Charles, and today I'm joined in Studio 2 by our very own Pat Kelly. Hi, Pat.
Hello, Priscilla. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
So Pat is Chief Commercial Officer at Vistatec and co-founder, of course, at Vistatec. So you're very welcome, Pat. And without further ado, let's get started and get to know you. So Pat, you are one of Vistatec's founding members. You're responsible for the commercial viability of our business solutions. In an interview, you said that Vistatec was founded by a group of localization individuals who had worked in the industry, but also in other organizations, and decided to come together to create a best-of-breed solutions for our clients. So I'd like you to tell me, how has the industry landscape changed, in your opinion, since Vistatec was founded in 1997?
Yes, so we're going now almost 24 years. July this year will be 24 years. So yeah, things have evolved hugely in that time. I mean, I was in the industry before Vistatec even. So, back in those days, sounds so old when I say that, but the type of projects that we were doing were very different to what we do now. For example, there were just large hardware and software related localization projects covering the localization of the user interface, the user assistance, large manuals, and projects could run on for months. That was then. Nowadays, that's very different. The type of work we do now is much more agile, much more focused on continuous localization, and the tools that we use now in the industry is very different. It's all about workflow systems, connectivity, dashboarding, KPIs. So it's all about kind of being able to provide the information as quickly as possible to our clients to keep them informed as to how things are going. So there's also much more of a focus, I think, on content creation, things like brand awareness, and getting the message right there for our clients. As an organization, we've been able to add value, and we have to be able to add value to become part of their clients, if you like, their extended team. And we do that in a kind of a very programmatic way, which is something that's kind of changed and evolved over the years. So I think we've done that very well, and we continue to do it. So yeah, it's the landscape is very different now to what it was when I was a younger lad.
Thanks. And now I'd like to discuss a little bit about Vistatec ISO certificates that allow the organization obviously to stand proudly over everything that it delivers to its clients, as you mentioned. So Vistatec is certified for, for its quality management system, translation services, information security, machine translation, post-editing, and medical devices, for example. So can you tell us a little bit about this certification, I'm curious, and how do they help the organization ensure uniformity of approach and maximum quality output across all the accounts?
Yep. I think we first attained 9001 probably 10, 12, 14 years ago, I think at this point. As we grew as an organization over the years, it became vitally important that we could have the structures in place to allow us to be able to service our client requirements. We were growing as an organization, our client requirements were changing, and quality is key. It's something that we kind of, emphasize all the time. Quality is key to everything that we do. But we had to make sure that we could measure this in a formal way. It's all very well saying that, but the important thing is to measure that in a formal way. And ISO 9001, it continuously kind of holds Vistatec to the highest standards. And the policy of corrective and preventative actions as part of that standard means we must have the processes in place to achieve and maintain those quality standards. And that applies across our language partners as well, hence the 17001 standard. Our clients over the years, they entrust us with their product information, their intellectual property rights. So we must ensure that we keep that safe, and that's vital. Okay. And they have to have that confidence in Vistatec that we can do that. Mm-hmm. So this is where the ISO 27001 information security standard it comes into play. That is something that's very key in these days, with the way that there's always unsavory people out there trying to hack into systems. there's GDPR standard, there's all of those things that require us to be robust in terms of our security and how we handle our clients' information. So that's key as well. And then other standards like the 1345, which is the med device standard, that's part of our life science division, that quality requirement there, and our post editing, which our latest standard is the post editing MT standard, the 18587. So that allows us to have that infrastructure in place to be able to deliver that top-notch service to our clients in a quality focused but also secure fashion, so that the clients know that they're getting both, they're getting quality, but also they're I suppose satisfied that our structure in place from a security point of view as well.
Thanks, Matt. And in an interview, I'd like to move on to a slightly different topic. In an interview to the Worldly Marketer podcast host, Catherine Bussman, that many of our audience know, many of us know, who was also recently a guest on VistaTalks, you discussed, I'm quoting, what it takes to grow a global brand in the digital age. So obviously we've talked about how Vistatec as an organization has changed over the years, and how, you know, a new generation of tools is keeping up, including, for instance, machine translation tools, with the need of, you know, for agile content localization. So can you tell us a little bit about how Vistatec remains agile in all areas of its business activities?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, you know, the environment has changed, and it's all about agile now, agility, and being able to adapt and evolve with our clients. So we've built our reputation, I think, on becoming a kind of the go-to organization when there are technical challenges that we have to overcome. So this means being, you know, kind of a bespoke solution builder to a wide variety of verticals and business requirements. So I think we're known for that ability out there. We have that reputation, and the fact that the management team also is the owner managers of Vistatec means that decisions can be made quickly and in an agile fashion, and that's key to us being able to move fast, to adjust or to adapt to what our clients are looking for. You know, and it's always evolving. It's always changing. The floodgates open up when they open up, and you know, sometimes clients take their time making decisions as to what their requirements are. But once they have made that decision, it's up to us to be able to respond and deal with that in the appropriate way. And it's all about being able to switch things on. We are a very tight, close team, and that allows us to respond very quickly. So I think that's been one of the key factors of Vistatec being able to be that agile partner to our clients.
Of course. And now I'd like to discuss about the pandemic, which obviously has impacted us tremendously on so many different levels, unfortunately, for the past year. So Vistatec moved ahead of most companies and most governments in early 2020 by setting up a global task force in January, when the World Health Organization started to introduce, unfortunately, the topic of the pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit maybe on how Vistatec set up this task force and how it helped the organization deal with this, you know, very unfortunate time and pandemic?
Yeah. So, you know, at this point in time, Vistatec is obviously, we're a global organization. So we monitor events in a global way. It's not just, you know, local now. We are a worldwide global organization. So we could see how the pandemic was affecting the work environment in other locales, because we deal with those locales on a daily basis, starting in China, you know, we'll say in Asia and all across the globe. So we could see the effect that it was having. And we made the decision as a team early, before the government told us to do that, to implement our remote working policy. And we did that really to be ahead of the curve, and also to make sure that our staff were protected as early as possible. You know, we could still respond seamlessly to our clients' needs because we reacted in the way we did. And I think the key thing was for us to be able to keep the staff informed at all times as to what we were thinking, and allow them, I suppose, to come to us with any concerns they may have, so that we could deal with them as early as possible. Being able to stay open and stay productive through these times has been very challenging for all of us. You know, in so many ways, people have been affected by this. But I think because we reacted so early and we're proactive in that way, it allowed us to be ahead of the curve, I suppose. And keeping safe was obviously the key element to what we were doing, but also allowing us to, I suppose, give that security to our clients that we were here ready to help at a moment's notice.
And speaking of the pandemic, Vistatec has been a proud supporter of numerous charities, always been a proud supporter, and including the past year, it continues to be. So you, in an interview, you commented about the importance of supporting charities internationally, not just locally. So can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, sure. Again, having staff located across the globe, and we could see how COVID was affecting certain places and certain locations, and that Italy springs to mind right away. They got hit hard back in early 2020, and we were in contact with our Italian team. We asked them how they were coping with the pandemic, for example, and what advice they could give to us in Ireland, because it was coming our way. And it was very comforting to hear from them how they worked and what was working for them to keep them, I suppose, focused and keep them well and happy. So that was great to get that information from them. But also in return, then I think it was important for us to be able to support them and their countrymen, and the best way to do that was through local charities. So we didn't want to just focus on one locale. We wanted to, I suppose, show support, in a global way. So we picked a number of charities across the globe that we felt best represented the effort that was going ahead to try and contain this pandemic. And some of our own staff have frontline family members, so it's very close to all of us. There's no escaping from it. So whatever we could do to, I suppose, show that support, we try to do that, and spreading that charity was, I think, one way of doing it. In a small way, it was something that I think was very important to us, to show that support for our teams across the globe.
Thanks, Pat. And speaking of the pandemic, business-wise, of course, Vistatec has continued to grow. And how important has it been for the organization to help global brands, create, creating content and, keeping the effort, and the accounts as normal, but also to grow in an agile manner?
Yeah. I mean, some of our clients were more affected than others by the pandemic, but some, I suppose, were quite proactive in how they adjusted their process to dealing with the whole pandemic and being able to keep their businesses alive.
Yeah.
And when they did that, it meant that they had to come to us to help them to, I suppose, disperse that message out there to the wider community, the wider, I suppose, markets for them. So we were there when they called upon us. There's one or two that come to mind in particular where, where they would have maybe been more used to kind of bricks and mortar type shop fronts and selling their product there. It now became important for them to be able to go online and sell online, and that worked very well for them. But that was a big change in mindset, and we were there to support them, to be able to help them with their messaging and keep the message on brand for them, because it was a new way of working for all of us. And I think that's one of our core strengths, being there and being able to support them when things are challenging, and there's been very few challenges like there has been for the last year or so. So I think we've kind of been a great support to many of our clients in that respect.
And speaking of Vistatec, how has been business over the past year? Because we've mentioned that we've helped some of the brands, but obviously Vistatec has been growing tremendously as well.
It has. In fact, I would say this last year has been our busiest year ever, and that's testament, I think, to to the way we reacted as an organization to the challenges that we faced, but also being there for some of our clients and allowing them to message the way that they needed to be able to change their way of working as well. But some sectors have been hit harder than others. Like there's no getting away from the travel industry for sure has been hit badly. And we have a couple of clients in that space, but they're still there and they're still working hard, and we are there to support them every step of the way. So, while in general overall it's been a great year for us, we do have to be mindful of the fact that certain industries have maybe had a little bit tougher than others. But whatever their requirements are, we're happy to help out any way we can.
Thank you, Pat. And over the past year, so we mentioned the pandemic, but obviously we've also seen with Vistatec growing and the number of activities that we're involved in, the engagement of our global audience grow. And we've added 2 new shows to Vistatec, including X Cultural, which is a show on the intersection between passion culture, but also global communications to inspire ideas, connectivity, and global mindedness. But we've also added All Things Global, which is a webcast series bringing together various industry experts discussing global and trending topics. So most recently, All Things Global hosted global economist David Rosenberg, who is a frequent contributor to most major financial newspapers and publications in North America. He also makes regular TV appearances in the financial media. So you yourself attended the event, which was fantastic and so inspirational, very interesting. So what struck you the most in that conversation between our host and David? About the whole economy, actually.
Yeah, I think and the home economy is obviously something that's kind of grown out of the whole pandemic in the last year or so, and it really, I suppose, opened our own eyes as to the possibilities that are out there. Even when this most challenging of events took hold of the globe, really, that out of that grew some great ideas and ways to deal with that situation. And the home economy was one that's very much, I think, here for forever now. It's not going to go away when the pandemic is under control. I think there's going to be elements of that are going to be ingrained in the way we do business going forward. I think that was really kind of interesting because we all have to adapt as we go forward, and we all have to make sure that we take the best of what we had, but also learn from that and add the parts that we know will work best for the challenging times ahead. So I think there's going to be that combination of both old and new ways of working as we go forward, and it's exciting. It's going to be different, but it's exciting, and it just shows, I suppose, the length and breadth of the human endeavor, if you like, and how people adapt and move forward in these most challenging of times. So from that perspective, I thought it was kind of a very good insight into how things are going to progress going forward.
Absolutely, yes. And we've mentioned Vistatec being a big supporter of charities, but Vistatec is also being a sponsor over the years, including of leading localization organizations such as Gala, but also Multilingual and the Worldly Marketer podcast that we mentioned. So how important is it, in your opinion, to support these?
It's very important. In fact, one of our colleagues is on the Gala board. I think these organizations have a long-standing reputation for, again, bringing the best of what's going on in the industry, both in terms of challenges and also in terms of innovation, and being able to present that to the industry and keep us informed and allow us to build on those ideas that come out of these events and these organizations. So from that perspective, I think it's always important to have that forum, if you like, to be able to develop and talk about and evolve new ideas as to how we should do business. And again, in the pandemic, there's no better time than to looking for new ways to innovate and embrace the the upcoming challenges and the ongoing challenges. So I think from that perspective, organizations like Gala, who are in the business an awful long time, are vital, I think, to allowing us to do that.
Thank you. And now, before ending this interview, I want to touch on one last topic that we haven't mentioned.
Sure.
Is the Think Global Forum, of course, being supported by Vistatec for 5 years now already.
Yeah.
And you are one of the Think Global Forum ambassadors, and you've been involved in the organization since its start. Really, you've attended many of its events live, but also virtually since last year, and we've seen the Think Global Forum growing tremendously, and hosting also an annual awards program since for the past 4 years now. We've seen fantastic organizations and individuals applying, and it's also a great way of being able to recognize the achievements of all these individuals and companies. So now, can you tell us a little bit about what you're looking forward to the most in this event? This year will be unique, and not only because we've seen the highest number of applications we've ever seen, fantastic engagement, but also the event being hosted live this time virtually. So tell us, what do you look for in it?
Yeah, no, I think the Think Global Forum has been a fantastic success over the years. Again, to allow Vistatec to engage and to, I suppose, encourage this kind of thought leadership around various verticals and that over the years. And I think as we've gone forward, it's really kind of become fine-tuned, and the quality of the speaker and also the attendees speaks for itself. That there's always almost a surplus of people that want to attend these things. So that's a great tribute to Vistatec and its innovation on that score, that it is so popular, that it has grown so much. And out of that, then the Think Global Awards, it's our biggest yet, in terms of the categories and the number of entries, and it's not just the rating is not just localization centric. It's entries. It's across the board. So that's a great thing, because it allows, I suppose, us as localization innovators to be able to see how things are done in other verticals, other industries. Again, something that will allow us to learn and to hopefully be able to factor into how we do things going forward. It's always good to get the perspective of thought leaders in other verticals, other kind of industries, to see how they do things and how then we can bring that to bear in how Vistatec goes forward. Because again, we have to keep moving, we have to keep evolving, we have to keep innovating to be able to be as competitive and as at the cutting edge as we can. So from that perspective, the Think Global Awards just, I suppose, copper fastens that thought process and allows us to build on the expertise we already have, but widen our horizons and look at other ways of doing things, which is always a good thing. And it always allows us to then grow and change and innovate. And that's something that we just have to keep doing to be able to be at the cutting edge all the time.
Thanks. And we look forward to announcing the winners on April 21st. So
yes.
Soon. And that's unfortunately already the end of my interview. But I just wanted to ask you, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience today? Any new projects, top secret information, or just anything?
Nothing springs to mind, really. I mean, I think, there's an awful lot going on. We are busier than ever. We're bringing new logos into our fold, on a regular basis. We're looking at new verticals. I think in general, things are going very well for us. And, the future looks really bright for Vistatec and the way it's working and what we're doing. We seem to be doing things right, given that we are growing at the rate that we have grown. We're certainly covering the globe in terms of our our teams and that, so we're definitely right up there in terms of being a global organization. So all of that bodes well for us and for Vistatec. And I think, you know, our future looks very bright, and we're delighted to be here and be able to provide the great service that we do to our clients going forward. So yeah, that's my little spiel for the end of the end of the session.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Pat. I'm delighted to have you on the show today, and I'm sure our audience is dying to be able to tune in and listen to this interview. So thank you again so much. And it is already the end of today's show with Vistatec. Vistatec Pat Kelly's our own CCO, Chief Commercial Officer. So please make sure to tune in very soon to watch or listen to our next VistaTalks show, where we'll be discussing more interesting topic with interesting people from all around the world. Thank you.
Thanks, Priscillia.